Here we'll work with wrapping text, warping text, and work with text on a path. First, we'll wrap some text. Right now the text is over our little truck image there. So we're going to have to wrap that text around the truck. So first I'm going to select the truck. I'll go to Object, down to Text Wrap, and Make. And so it put a little border around there. But it didn't have any effect on the text because the text object has to be on the same layer and above the text itself. So I'll go to Object, Arrange, and Bring to Front. And now you can see how the text wrapped around it. However, we can adjust how the text wraps around it. So I'll go back to Object, down to Text Wrap, and Text Wrap Options. I'll click Preview, and I'll increase the offset to 20 points. And you can see how it's moving the text further away from the object. So that's working nicely. You can see that 20-point area around the truck. So that's nicely wrapped the text for us. Now let's go over to the first artboard and work with warping text. So I'm going to select the food truck rodeo type object, and then I'll go to Object, Envelope, Distort, and Make with Warp. And I'll make sure that Arc Upper is chosen. And click the preview box and just move those controls around a little bit to play with it and see what they do, how they change the text. But when you're finished, make sure that the bend is 30% and the horizontal and vertical distortions are set at 0. So there we've got our text, our warped text. Now if we want to edit the text, we can just select the text, and in the Properties panel, I'll click on the Edit Contents button, and that allows us to edit the text. So I'm going to highlight the text and just press backspace or delete to remove the word rodeo, and then that's changed the text. And you can see now we'll try editing the warp. So I'm going to click the Edit Warp button there, and down we have some options. So I'm going to click the Warp Options, and I'll change the warp bend to 20%. And click OK. And then I'll arrange the text in there, and I will grab one of the corners of the bounding box, hold down Shift, and drag it over so that it fits right into that space there. So there's a little bit about warping text, gives a nice decorative effect there. Now let's work with Type on a Path. So I'm going to zoom in here to that brown arc-shaped line, and I want to make sure to select that. And then I'll select the Type on a Path tool and just click on that line. And then I'll type over 30 local food truck vendors. And you can see how the text follows the path. And also when we put type on a path, the path that we actually put it on disappears after we've done it. So I'll change the text color to pink. I'll change the font family to Roboto bold, and I'll change the font size to 40 points. And I want it to be all uppercase, so I'll go up to Type, down to Change Case, and over to Uppercase. So it's not quite where we want it, so I'm going to hover my cursor next to just to the left of Over until I see the change in my cursor, and I'll just drag it over to the left to center it. So there was text on an open path. We can also type on a closed path. So I'm going to zoom into that circle up above. And I'll get my type tool and I'll hover just above the white circle. Until the cursor changes. It doesn't seem to be changing, so let's see. I'll get my type on a path tool. And then I'll just hover above there. And I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key so that the text is placed on the path of the circle. Having a little trouble here getting the right tool. There it is. Okay, so I'll click and I'll type on there, celebrating local. So I'll click 3 times to select all of the text, and I'll change the point size to 16. And then I'll hover my cursor over the left of the C. I'll select it with the selection tool. And we've got a couple of control handles there. Next to the C, to the left of the letter C. So I'll go to type on a path, but get some options here, and I'll increase the spacing a little bit to 20 points. I'll just type 20 in there and click OK. So that spread the text out a little bit. Now with my selection tool, I'll click, hold, and drag one of those control handles just to the left of the C, counterclockwise over to the left. It can be a little tricky to select that, just the right control handle. So I drag the first control handle over to the left, and then I'll drag the second control handle, which actually will bring the text over. So it's a bit of a two-step process here, and there's my text in the right position. So now we'll work on creating text outlines. And when we change text to outlines, it actually changes the text into an object, much like a circle or a square or any other kind of object that we draw in Illustrator. And we do that for a few reasons. One of them has to do with printing. We'll talk about that a little later. So I'm going to go open up my Layers panel, go to Window, Layers, and I'll click on the visibility next to the frames. So we're just about done. But what I want to do is copy some of the text on the left. And what I'm going to do is select the text that says corral. And I'll go to Edit Copy and Edit, or I'll hide the selection next. And then I'll go to Edit, Paste in Front. Then I'll go to Type and create outlines. So now the word coral has been completely changed to an actual object. We can't edit it anymore with the text tool. So I'll go up to View and down to Guides and hide them. And now I want to select the text food truck, the corral, and some of those decorative lines that go with it. I'll go up to Object and group them. Then I go to Edit and Copy. I'll click on the Artboard 2 because that's where I want to paste it. So I'll go to Edit and Paste in Place. I'll move it up a little bit, although I see that it did not select. I didn't select all of the lines for that, so I'm going to have to delete that and go back and select all of the decorative lines that go with that. Sorry for that. So I'll just delete that right there. And now I'll just make sure I select all of those decorative lines along with the text and the outline text. So now I'll go to Edit and Copy. Make sure I'm on the second artboard, go back to Edit, Paste in Place. There they are. And then I'll just move that text into place. So there, for this week's lesson, we did a lot of work with text. We formatted a lot of text. We created text area boxes. We then changed them to columns. We adjusted text to wrap around objects and other text. We warped text. We used the Touch Type tool and did text on a path. So we did a lot of work with text in this week.